Hi, ladies and gentlemen, it's Miss LaJoy here. I just want to make sure you're prepared for your quiz tomorrow, so I want to briefly go over 2 of the questions from the Show What You Know. I will have full solutions for all of them on EDSB. But first, let's review what the discriminant is. So the discriminant is this part of the quadratic formula. This is the handout that I gave you in class, right? So if we plug in our values to this formula and we come up with a positive number, right? So if the discriminant ends up being greater than 0, we have 2 solutions. If we have a discriminant that is equal to 0, we have 1 solution. And if we have a discriminant that is less than 0, then we have no solutions. So that part is what we're going to use for this first question. All right, so here is the Show What You Know from today. I've filled in the quadratic formula there for you that you need to memorize. But here are the questions. So this one says, for each of the following equations, determine whether there are 2 solutions, 1 solution, or no solutions, and justify your answer. So I've done the first and the last one here, but let's do the one in the middle together. So you can go over those other solutions for yourself. But let's take a look at this question. So we have our values. My A here is equal to 4. My B is -2. And my C is 5. So I'm going to plug that into the discriminant, which is b squared minus 4ac. So that means we have -2 squared minus 4 times 4 times 5. Well, -2 squared is 4. And then I have 4 times 5, which is 20, times -4, which gives me -80. So 4 minus 80 gives me -76. So because that is a negative number, that means, therefore, the discriminant is negative. So there are no solutions. Now, if you look at the other questions, when we did the first one, the discriminant was positive, so we had 2 solutions. The last one, the discriminant is 0, so there is 1 solution. For the second part of the quiz, we're looking at the quadratic formula. So here's the handout I gave you in class on the quadratic formula. You have to memorize this. There's no way around that. So x equals -b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac divided by 2a. So remember that this part under the root is our discriminant, right? So quadratic formula is what we use to help us solve quadratic equations, right? These are ways that we can solve, right? We went over this in class. We can factor, we can complete the square, or we can use the quadratic formula. The benefit to the quadratic formula is that we have a formula, and that we can apply it to all equations, right? So even questions that are only going to have 1 root or no roots, we can use that. So you're going to want to review this handout, and let's go to the Show What You Know and take a look at those questions from today. All right, so here's the Show What You Know. So the first and last questions are done, just like the last one there, but let's go over the one in the middle together. So this says, convert the following equations to standard form, then solve them using the quadratic formula. So we have to rearrange this into standard form, right? So what I've got right here, I'm going to have to multiply my x into the bracket. So x times x gives me x squared. X times -4 is going to be a -4x. Then I have plus 4 equals 0. So there we go. Now we're in standard form. So my A is a +1, my B is a -4, and my C is a +4. So we plug that into our quadratic formula. So I've got x equals -b, so that is negative times -4 plus or minus the square root of -4 squared minus 4 times 1 times 4 divided by 2 times 1. Well, -4 times 1 is -1 is going to give us a +4. Let's change that. right? Negative 4 squared is going to be a positive 16. And then 4 times 1 is 4 times negative 4 gives us a negative 16, right? 2 times 1 is 2. So now I've got 4 plus or minus. Now I've got 16 minus 16. So 16 minus 16 gives me 0 by 2. Okay? Well, I've got the square root of 0, right? So if I have 4 plus the square root of 0, or 4 minus the square root of 0 divided by 2, I want you to do the square root of 0 on your calculator and tell me what it gets you. So if you type that into your calculator, you're going to see that it's a 0, right? So if we have 4 plus 0 divided by 2, and we have 4 minus 0 divided by 2, right? Well, 4 plus 0 is 4 divided by 2, gives me a 2. 4 minus 0 is 4 divided by 2, gives me a 2. So I only have one solution here. Now the other two, we've got two solutions, right? We've got two roots. This one I only have one, right? So I have x equals 2. So there's only one root to this equation. And that's it. So that's what you need to review for tomorrow. Go over the discriminant, go over the quadratic formula. Make sure that you have the formula memorized. So it's up here. You need to know that. And the discriminant is right in it. So you only have to do one set of memorization, and just remember that the discriminant is the part underneath the root. That's it. Make sure you're prepared for tomorrow, please.